There we are. We're on air. That should be right. That should be perfect. We should be live right now. Let me close this. And I already put the notice out on a couple of the websites, and there we are. Shut up, other Bill. I got to mute that other computer.
Oh my God, so it doesn't. Other Bill irritates the shit out of me.
Other Bill always has shit to say before we even start the fucking show.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. If I ever catch Other Bill outside, I'm gonna kick his ass.
Catch you outside. How about that?
Oh my God! Don't do that. Don't do that. That's
awful. Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I got my eye on the messenger. Or not the messenger,
Okay, we should be set. I should be on screen share. Everything should be going well. This is the controller pileup. We are on episode 12. This is going to be covering the PlayStation Must Plays. After the PlayStation Must Plays, we will be talking about Final Fantasy XIV because it got expanded, it did. And then we will also be talking about the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid DLC issue. That's our show so far. Co-hosts for tonight are ReploidBill, William Bush,
Scott Action Jackson,
Shane McCree, Proto Guy.
All right, so let's jump right into topic one. These are the absolute games. We took a poll. Essentially, that is what we did. Actually, I've got to fix something because I just realized something. I've got to take control of the screen or else we're going to get a bunch of weird stuff happening today. So there's me. There's that. That's fixed. We had the weird effect thing that happened right there. Now we should be set. We shouldn't have any issues. Still something I'm learning. I've got to get it down so we can start getting the Sentai show so that when we can do these episodes, we can edit them in live. But here we go. This is what we do here. In order to get these lists, I put out the word on our messenger and we say, what are the PlayStation games that you absolutely must play? These are in kind of alphabetical order because that's how the computer decides to do it. But when we do this, basically what I do is I compile the list and anything that's a repeat gets taken off the list so that there's only one. And then we compile these lists tonight. We wound up with 30 games. This is not because I picked 10 and then Scott didn't pick a single one on my list. It's because for some reason, the other cast members gave us lists, but didn't show up tonight. So we're going to talk about some of their games too.
Yep.
Which I don't know how that's going to go because you saw how it happened with the Nintendo. Anyway, let's get this started because there's a hell of a show tonight. First thing we're doing here. Oh, we're not. There we go. First things first. Final Fantasy Final Fantasy XIV expanded. Shane, they expanded your game.
I know.
You like my title card. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
I like it. Technically, I've been playing it all day.
Yeah. And you were playing it when I woke up and playing it when I went to sleep, which makes me feel like maybe you were playing it all night.
No, it didn't. It didn't drop it didn't drop till 4 a.m.
Oh, that you were downloading when I woke up. Because when I got up, I saw on Discord, it said that you were awake and playing the game. That must have been you downloading.
No, I downloaded the game. Okay, how it works is you can download the patch and everything. Yeah. I did that after midnight. But the maintenance for the game didn't go live until 4 a.m. where you could actually log into the game and start playing the new stuff.
So did Discord lie to me?
No, Discord didn't lie technically because even if I'm not in the game, if I have the login screen up,
yeah,
it says I'm in the game. Even though
that's just like DCU with me. If I'm on DCU updating a patch,
it says that you're in the game. Yes,
it'll tell me that I'm playing because I had to verify that. I had to do that because I went to work and during a couple of my breaks or like any of my downtime that I come across, I will sometimes update my Discord and say, this is what we're going to be doing next week or whatever. Well, so I'm in there and I looked over and I said, oh shit. Because it said that I was playing DCUO and I was like, just to let anybody know who's in the Discord, I am at work Discord is a liar.
It is.
Like, I am not on the game. I'm not getting fired for something like that.
No, what it comes down to is I tried to wait till 4 a.m. to play it, but first shift is real, and I fell asleep.
Oh, I know. Yeah, first shift is real.
I didn't wake up. I didn't wake up
let's-
like 6 in the morning and start playing.
So let's go into it, because if you can see Scott down here on the corner of the screen, he's got nothing to do with this shit.
I mean, not really. I mean, I played it like, what, maybe like 3 expansions ago or something.
Which is why you literally have nothing to do with this.
Mm-mm.
Same with me, Scott. I'm right in the boat with you. This is Shane's part of the show. Shane plays this game, not us.
Yes, I do play this game, and boy, howdy, have they changed the game. They changed it for the better in some cases. Expanding the story, obviously, is what is one big part. So far, it's been a pretty good story. I'm not very far into it, to be fair.
I wouldn't imagine so.
No, it's going to take It's going to take quite a while to finish it all.
Do you have anything that you can legitimately say?
I can tell you. Well, I've unlocked the 2 new classes that they've added in the game.
What are those?
They added a new tank class called the Gunbreaker, which uses a gun blade.
Okay, so basically Final Fantasy VIII Squall.
Yep.
For multiplayer. Okay.
And then they added a ranged DPS class, Dancer.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ranged Dancer?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Is it like magic kind of? Or?
It's a physical. It's physical range. Basically, you know those bladed circle weapons? I think they're called chakras or whatever.
Yeah, I like what Xena used.
Mm-hmm. That's the weapon the Dancer uses, and the Dancer will throw them and use dance moves like to. You can actually have a partner, so you can choose somebody on your team to match up with them and start using skills. Dancing skills. I haven't really played a lot of it. I only unlocked it and tried it a little bit. I wanted to go to the new area, the new zones and stuff. They added a new city-state, the Crystarium.
Okay.
It's pretty nice. It's actually it's a little confusing. It's kind of like that. The ship in Old Republic where you had me follow you because I got lost.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like
the very first time you go up there. Yeah, it's something.
This place got me kind of confused. It took me forever to find out where the hell I was going. But so far, they raised the level cap to 80. They've added new dungeons, new trials, all that stuff. Same thing you get from any other expansion from the game. They nerfed different classes. They took skills away. They took your TP from you. So now you only have HP and MP. And every class, doesn't matter if you're just a melee class or you're a magic class, everybody gets 10,000 MP.
Okay.
So, I mean, I haven't gotten, like I said, I've been playing.
Well, that's just like, I know this is not the same thing, but I went back to DCU recently. And that game, I don't know what happened in that last update, the last thing they added, but damn, it feels legitimately different. Remember how there was the skill tree and you picked the moves you wanted?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that anymore.
Okay.
As you level up, I'm level 9 and I only have 4 moves. So what it does is it unlocks these moves gradually and in the order that it wants. So it kind of leads me down the skill tree and then leaves certain other things up to my discretion, which guarantees that every character has a different balance and a different feeling. So right now I named myself Billy Psychick. Because I'm using the mental powers. And I copied off young Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, the first thing she gets is a thing where she stops a person and lifts them up. The second thing she gets is a deal where she sends a psychic wave. The third thing is this deal where she pulls them towards them. towards herself, and the fourth is a shield to add defense to herself and her team. So it's forcing you to learn that if you play a power, like a big problem that DCUO was having is that everybody that plays the game thinks they're DPS. Everybody in the fucking world thinks they're DPS. And it was breaking some of the game because you'd go into these situations and nobody could fucking help you because nobody knew what the fuck they were supposed to be doing. Well, the way they fixed this is they're forcing the character trees now. So I'm playing a psychic person, and my power is supposed to be controller. I'm supposed to buff the team and debuff the enemies. That's my job.
Yep.
Everybody in the game is DPS.
Yes.
Everybody automatically is DPS. Unlike other MMOs that I've played, where there may be a character that, like you said, there's a dancer that is DPS.
Yes.
That's not the way DCU works. DCU works in the ideal concept that every single person with fists is DPS. You need to learn your job outside of DPS, of which there are three: the controller, the tank, and then there's a healer. And those are the three classes. And now the class tree has been locked down to force you to learn your role in the group, which makes that, I went to that first fucking stupid ass monkey that used to kill us, and now that everybody is forced to use their skill tree properly, I ran through that monkey thing on my first try, did not die. It's never happened. Every time I got to that stupid monkey, I got killed because the guys on the team, like you have a lightning guy there who's expressly built for fucking healing, who's just shooting lightning bolts everywhere and never helping the team. So these kinds of things, especially with like this Final Fantasy, they have to do this. They have to give you these moves, and then they watch the community and they figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then they come in and they say, this move is fucking pointless, or it's too broken, or it serves no purpose to this. And then they take it away, or they might add things. So this is very common for expanding things, and I've seen it in a lot of games.
Yes, they're trying to make healers specifically heal in this game and not DPS and heal only when absolutely necessary.
And not allow Nick to act like he's some sort of Swiss Army knife.
Oh, the changes they made, I don't know if he'll like too much. I personally, I like them. I like the changes. There's a few that I don't. Like I said, I'm only playing with as one of my classes right now.
All right.
But from so far, they've made the ninja fun as hell. Like I'm playing as the ninja right now, and it's fucking. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But like I said, I've only been playing it today because today was early access. The game technically doesn't come out until July 2nd. For everybody who pre-ordered the game, we're able to get into the early access. Server issues, obviously. Earlier today, I was out. I got kicked out for over half an hour before they got the servers back up.
Right.
And that happens when everybody's flooding it.
Yeah, which is going to be like that for a while because
until they can get a handle on it. Yep.
Every time they do an expansion in a game like this, you see the servers get overrun.
Oh, they do.
Because everybody that left tries to come back.
Yep, because there's something to do now.
Yep.
And there's a lot.
And for a while there, you figure probably what ends up happening. I'm just imagining I'm an armchair programmer or whatever, but I imagine what happens is after the amount of people start to go down, they probably change the way they're handling the server. And then kind of overnight, there's this influx of mass traffic, and then that's probably what ends up hurting them and the reason it takes them a while to get shit going after these things drop. But I'm under the impression that we probably can't really go into this until you've had a little while to play it. So you want to move through?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Next topic. Here we are. We are on the Must Play PlayStation 1 games. These are games you cannot pass up if you ever plan to go back to a PlayStation 1. And that's about it, because realistically, you're not about to get a new PlayStation 1. It's dead now.
Well, unless you get that classic thing.
And that's dead.
Even then, some of these games will not be on it.
And that thing's dead anyway.
And that thing sucked.
It's so bad you can get it for super cheap now.
So, first game, air combat. This is actually Ace Combat here. I was not aware of this. I was trying to look for Ace Combat like a son of a bitch. And I know because I found Ace Combat 5 and 3 and a bunch of other shit. I know it exists. But as I was looking for the cover art, I even went to the GB Games database.
Mm-hmm.
And even they reference this game as Air Combat for some reason.
Maybe that's what it was called before they changed the name.
My guess is this is, and I have no knowledge whatsoever. My guess is this is a Dragon Warrior type situation where it's actually called something else in the rest of the world. We named it something else when it came here, and then it got 1 or 2 games in, and we finally fixed it.
Right.
That's my best guess. But this game this game made our list. The Disembodied Voice was the one that actually gave this to us. He was the only one that picked it. And
I've never played it, so I have nothing to say about it.
I got nothing to say on it as well. The only thing I remember is that it was a jet game.
Yep.
I guess it was fine. Sorry. Next. Brave Fencer Musashi.
Hells yeah! That game is on my list.
This was exclusively picked by Shane. Only Shane.
This game infuriated me as a kid.
Really?
There was a part that I always got stuck at. Could never figure out what to do. But I'm going to tell you something. If I went back nowadays, especially with the internet, and I could just look up why am I stuck in this spot. But this game was actually a lot of fun. I lost it a few years ago. And I was able to rebuy it about a year or so ago. So I do have it on my shelf right now. Haven't had a chance to go back and play it. Probably because I don't have the means in which to play it. I don't have a PS1 anymore, and my PS2 is MIA right now.
Sweet.
I have no idea where it's at.
It's great news.
It is. I would like to go back and give it another shot. This game had a sequel that came out, I think, on the PS2.
I think you could easily find a PlayStation 2. I remember very little about this game. I don't remember what kind of game it was. Evidently, it comes with the Final Fantasy VIII demo.
Yes.
That's good.
Basically, from what I recall, I know I liked this game a lot. I do know. It's hard for me to remember. There's so many games. We play so many games. And there are games that are better than this game, obviously. But it's hard for me to remember every little tiny detail.
I don't remember if it was a platformer, an RPG, a fighting like action game, or I don't remember anything.
It's a side scroller-ish type game. Kind of like a hack and slash. I think. Don't get me. I can't remember. I don't know if it has any RPG elements, but I liked this game a lot. I really did. It's like I said, I haven't played it since the 90s.
Okay.
So next, it's hard for me to remember.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Now, this was on my list.
This was also on mine.
This is on your list. I played this game, but I suck at Castlevania, so.
This was the Castlevania that changed the groundwork. It became the play style for Castlevania. Taking a hint from games like Metroid, Castlevania moved into a type of RPG element where its characters were allowed to shine a little more, and the castle took on this bigger than life kind of thing. Yep. It felt very big. You got to experience the grandness of what Castlevania was. And I think the only thing that was missing is I would like to say that some of the variety got hurt, but because you go under the castle and those are caves, things like that. I mean, you don't get like a forest level and shit like that. So there's certain things missing, right, in the overall that you'll miss from old Castlevania.
You're only castle in this one. That's the whole. But
we get multiple weapons.
Yep.
All the little item things are there. There's a level up system. You're going to have to be able to get certain things to reach certain areas, and that's part of the whole thing is discovering how to get where you haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed the game. It really did. The music and graphics still hold up to this very day. I did an entire playthrough of this game live to show you how the game works and everything like that. I literally did every part of this game. live in front of camera.
This game also asks the most important question: what is a man? Remember that.
I've heard it's a miserable little pile of secrets.
You would actually be correct. But enough. Have at
Terrific game. If you beat this game, it actually unlocks where you could put in Richter's name and go through the game in original Castlevania fashion.
Now, this game was actually so good that they have a spiritual successor out right now that is basically Castlevania Symphony of the Night with new characters because it's no longer made by Konami.
Bloodstained.
Yeah, Bloodstained is exact. I own it. I've played it. It's really good.
I'm
really
glad.
good.
I'm glad I was not. I'm glad I don't have a lot of money right now because I would have bought that day one, and I would have bought it. I would have bought it for the Switch, and it's having a lot of problems on the Switch, and it's not actually the Switch's fault because even the Xbox One is actually having problems running the game in certain parts flawlessly. It's experiencing slowdown and spikes and frame rate issues. And the reason for this is because the game is not optimized well.
I'm playing it on the PC.
Yes,
and
but
I haven't
but that's what I'm saying. Okay, even if the game is not optimized well, if you have a beast system, it's not going to harm you. But if you have hardware that is static hardware, and the game is not optimized for that hardware properly, you will experience problems, and that's what's happening with that game.
I personally would tell anybody that. I mean, I get it. Why you would get on the Switch because you can take it with you. That whole gimmick right there is enough for you to get games on the Switch. And I bought games on the Switch for that reason. But I would say that if anybody wants to play that Bloodstained, I would tell you to get it on the PC because it doesn't take much to run it. You don't need to go out and buy yourself a $3,000 freaking beast system to play the game. You'll be fine.
All right, next. This is
Crash.
Yep, go ahead.
Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
Yes, this is the third game, the third Crash Bandicoot, and I've heard a lot of people now. Every one of the Crash Bandicoot games are good.
Yes,
in my opinion. Okay,
even the racing game.
PlayStation.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that out there because I played some bad Crash after the PlayStation, but the original 3 games that came out for this system, and to be fair, like you said, there was something that tried to compete with Mario Kart.
Crash Team Racing. Yep, Crash Team Racing.
Those are some good ass games, and this was there too. I've heard the argument as to which one is better, 1, 2, or 3.
I prefer the first, but that's me.
I myself actually remember liking part 2. I don't know why. I don't think it's actually about how good the game was. I think that I rented part 1, played part 3 somewhere, but owned part 2. So that's the one I got good at. So that's the one I seem to prefer.
I liked all of them. All of them were great games, but the first one started it all, and I really liked that one a lot.
But through this same argument, this game was added by Jeremy.
Yeah, but it's a good game nonetheless.
You were about to say something, Scott. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, it's like the main trilogy of the Crash Bandicoot games are a classic and are a must-play for any PlayStation system, whether it's PS1 or PS1 games on the PS2. It's a must-have.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the Crash games really, he kind of took that role. Everybody back then had to have a mascot, and he kind of stepped into that role for PlayStation.
Yeah, he did.
Stepped in it. He kicked the door through.
Well, that's because he had his megaphone.
On the commercials, you saw him out there shouting in a megaphone at Nintendo.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, next, Crash Bandicoot.
That's on my list, I think.
This was on your list, and it was also on Scott's list. Okay. What's up, Swole? So I think we pretty much just covered Crash. I don't think there's anything we have to say, unless you want something specific.
I kind of wonder something, because was this Naughty Dog's first game?
Here's the thing.
Maybe under Naughty Dog, but
I think this was one of the games that got them on the map. Like, because Naughty Dog makes great games.
I don't believe this was their first game.
I do remember this game being the one that really solidified them as a good gaming developer. Because like I told you, they're still making games today that are good.
Yeah.
So
next,
Diablo.
Diablo.
This was on your list, Phil.
No. I did not put this on the list because I actually feel like it's better
PC
on the PC. However, there is something to be said about sitting on your couch with a friend, and this is the only way to do it.
Yeah, that's why I put it on the list.
Because, like, I had this game for the PC, and I played the rooms where there were like 16 people or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's good and fine, and it's a lot of fun, and it was so awesome. But there was a different feeling about sitting on the couch in my basement with that TV, and you had to share the screen, and you and a friend would play this game.
Coordinate.
Yes, and I remember there's a lot that goes into a game like this, and this game actually set the groundwork for some other stuff that would come later on because it proved that it was possible. So we got 2 Champions of Norath games that followed this up, and we got some Baldur's Gate that followed this up, and games that played in this style showed up because it was proven that PlayStation could handle it on a controller. Mm-hmm. And that it is important. You have to take that first step, or we probably wouldn't have seen some of the other games even happen, especially not in the way they did. Where other games like this, because this is important to point out, this is a computer game. There are other computer games that were ported to the PlayStation that while they worked, they sucked. Like, remember Command and Conquer on the PlayStation?
Remember it, never played it.
It is really bad. It was not meant for that. No. It doesn't work well. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
There's certain games that should not leave PC if that's what they're meant for.
Yeah. And
Diablo worked on PlayStation. It did. I was not a big fan of the first one. I was more of a fan of the second one that never left PC.
You know, I was always confused by that because we got the first one. Why did we not get the second?
And you got the third one.
That's one thing I'm confused about, too. It's like, I love the first Diablo on PC and the PlayStation. I still wonder, why the hell did they not make Diablo 2 for PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3, considering that we got Diablo 3 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One?
Yeah. I don't understand why they kept the second one on PC only.
Yeah, I'm confused. I've always been confused about it myself. But this game is good. It works well.
You're even playing it right now, sort of, with Lone Paladin.
I've been playing it with Nick when he comes over, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He dies a lot.
Yes.
Half of my family fortune has went to bringing him back with fucking resurrection scrolls.
Yeah, that kind of happens with this game on PlayStation.
Next.
Oh my, no. Who put that on the list?
This is from Scott. And I remember when he gave it to me, I didn't question it. His game. Okay, that's what I think. This game is bad.
I played this game a lot.
There's probably a nostalgia tied to this choice.
I think there is because I did play it.
I definitely selected this one because at the time that this came out, even though this looks like a PAL UK version case cover, around the time that this came out, we just started getting like the American dub of Z and Dragon Ball. So we didn't really know that much about GT here.
No, I get that. Here's the thing. This is the reason that this game kills me a bit. And you'll notice the case says Dragon Ball Final Bout.
Well, here in America, it was Dragon Ball GT.
Yes, I noticed there are 2 cases to this game. One that says GT on it, and one that doesn't even have a Z. It just says Dragon Ball.
Right. I remember this game infuriated me. Beating Baby.
I don't like this game. I actually believe that the Super Nintendo was doing better for Dragon Ball Z than the PlayStation. Because it's not just this. It's that Ultimate Battle 22. I think that game sucks too. Most of the Dragon Ball Z games that came out on the PlayStation are simply bad. And I really do feel like this fits in that category. But for the time, unless you were like me, I knew about Dragon Ball Z before I came here because my uncle was buying me the manga from Japan. So I'd already seen about 7 different books. And then the show came on Cartoon Network. And when the show hit it wasn't Cartoon Network. The show hit Fox and failed miserably. It was on at like a 6 a.m. fucking time slot.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was watching it and I was blown away by it. And I started looking, because this is around the same time as my Windows 95 computer, like the first computer I ever had. I had emulators for Nintendo and Super, and I downloaded every single Dragon Ball game I could find. And there are some amazing Super Butoden 2, Hyper Dimension Zone, Dragon Ball Z Buyu Ratsuden. There's the Dragon Ball Z RPG. There was like 4 of them, but there's one in general that really stood out on the Super Nintendo that was damn good. In fact, Scott got a reproduction cart of that game translated. Yeah. And those games are so much better. This game, I feel like this is a hard nostalgia, and
I had to cheat to beat this game because I couldn't beat Baby at the end when he was the big great ape, the golden ape.
I kind of have to admit something here. I was either drawn to putting this here or putting Space Jam on the list.
Okay, I have not played Space Jam. I can't talk to good or bad about it. I played this, and I actually think this game is bad, but this is your choice, and I'm not good. I said I don't have to agree with it. If you picked it, it goes on the list. It's here. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next, Evil Zone. This game was the anime dream.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, it really is. It's the anime dream, man.
I know. We played it. This is on your list, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
This game blew me away. It works with all the complication of a Nintendo controller. 2 buttons. That's it. Block and attack. That's it.
Simple enough.
It's incredibly easy. You know how games today, when you do the same move over and over and over, you're just doing the same move? Mm-hmm. One thing that was interesting about this game is that every single move you did had 20 different camera angles for that move. So if you were to do the move where you grab the guy and flip him over your shoulder, well, you never really get tired of seeing it, because every time that move activates, it changes how you're seeing it, which keeps every battle unique in the scheme of how you see it eyes-wise. Every character in the game was a cliche, specifically a cliche. There was a little kid that was like a prodigy wizard. There was
magic spear.
Yes, there was an overbearing hunter dude, a bounty hunter, who had a giant compensation man sword.
Yeah. I remember him. Wasn't there like a, oh my God, Diamond?
There Danzeba is a metal hero through and through. That's what he is, man. He even does the posing. He goes, the ultimate power of the great hero destroys evil, Danzeba, and he like does all these poses and everything. He was awesome. I was really, really, really good with him, to the point where almost nobody would play this game with me unless I did not pick him.
All I'm saying is, like, it was fun. You own it. We've played it. It's not bad. It's pretty damn good, actually.
Every character you pick, the arcade is interesting because it changes to be that character's anime. So it changes the presentation, and every one of these characters you see in a little bit of a different light, because if you play the evil deranged sorcerer guy, not the little kid, but there's like an older dude who uses like magic cards and shit. He reveals like interesting, weird facts about every character by doing tarot readings on them as he goes through his anime. And Danzeba is basically like seeing animated Power Rangers. And then, of course, if you play as the little kid with the magic, he's all about like saving the world and protecting his girlfriend. And he's very much a cliche little kid character. And it's interesting.
It is.
Next, Final Fantasy VII.
This was on the list. We knew this was going to be on the list.
No, shocking. I know nobody saw this coming.
We talked about Final Fantasy VII in our first episode. Episode.
Technically coming back to this show started, we talked about Final Fantasy VII because we had to talk about Tifa again.
But what can be said about this game that hasn't already been said?
This game, it wasn't just the concept that it came out when it did. I know a lot of people believe that it came out, it was the first 3D jump, and that's what gives it all this. That's not it. Part of what made this game so big was we didn't know what it was going to be.
No.
Like, we had magazines and shit like that, but it is so different today that I know everything about a game before I play it. Like, I can go online two or 3 days before the game even comes out and see some dude on there that's already got like 4 different reviews, if not Let's Plays. Well, by then I've already seen most of the game. There's very little surprises nowadays. And part of what made this game explode was that nobody knew shit about it. Literally. So when we got our hands on it, it just blew up. And it felt so much bigger than it even actually was. And I'm not even trying to discredit the game, because it really is a huge game and deserves a lot of credit. But I think there's something to be said about the way the marketing was handled back then as opposed to how video games come out today.
Right. And I don't think anybody expected it to be what it, like you said, what it became. Or what it was going to become. Spin-off games, a movie, a remake.
Yeah.
This is the biggest Final Fantasy they've ever made. You look at all the ones that came out on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, while they were great, this one is the one that people gravitate towards. When you talk about Final Fantasy, people immediately will talk about 7.
I tell you, one of the only other things that could be referenced as big or bigger than Final Fantasy VII is probably 4. For some reason, 4 has a lot of remakes, a lot of remasteries.
4 set the standard for what Final Fantasy would become. Because you look at the first 3 games, and you could tell they were experimenting on stuff.
Yes.
First game, they turn-based style, no map, confusing as shit to navigate. At least in and when they brought it out on PSP, it was hard to navigate. I got lost a lot. Second one, they had a different level up system. Third one, they added the jobs. So it seems like they were still experimenting on the first 3, but when 4 came out, it seems like they figured something out, and every Final Fantasy game that has come out has taken stuff from 4 and put it in their own game.
Yes, yeah, very much has created the foundation of Final Fantasy, and this game is the only game since then, and after, for that matter, that has had the same kind of pull. Because 4 and 7, even if they don't have to be your favorites, but they are the biggest.
You can even add 10 into this if you want to get technical. 10 was the first jump into PS2 era, the first one that had voice acting.
But it didn't have the same impact, because I really do feel like the advertising for 10 was bigger, and we already knew most of what we were going to get before we got it. This game was a surprise. It's what helped it stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd have to say that 10 was big, just not as big as 7.
But I really think that's part of why. I mean, the shock wasn't there. I'd already seen the first 30 minutes of the game before I even played 10. And it wasn't from like a friend's house. It was from, I watched Tech TV, and they just showcased something on, there used to be this thing called like, I can't remember. It was on at the very end of the night, like at midnight, where they would just give gameplay footage. And I saw, it was before the game even came out. Like, you already saw the first 30 minutes of it. They just played the first introduction of it. And that was before I ever got to play it. There's a difference between how these games hit us because of what we were allowed to know before we went into it. Mm-hmm. This game was a shock. Nobody knew shit about it. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. Next, Final Fantasy VIII.
That's my list.
That's your list.
Now, listen. I'm going to tell you. This game, okay, this does have nostalgia behind it, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. This is the game that started me on my Final Fantasy path and what got me to love the series, because this is my first. Now, you can sit there and everybody will tell you, well, 8 might be a good game. It has a good story. Some people might even think that the love story in this game is better than any of the others. I would tell you that 10 might have a better one, in my opinion.
This game does not have a good love story.
But I will tell you,
I'm sorry, going back to the actual game, reading it, watching it, the love story is forced in 8. It feels weird. Like, I'm going to have to go back and play it one more time. But the last time I played this, like, there's weird stuff going on. Like, she's dating Cypher, and then she comes to the party and dances with Squall, and like, okay, what's that about, first off? Second, like, then she hires you to be part of her resistance or whatever, and then you go and you meet her, and she's all like, oh yeah, I'm dating Cypher. And then without even a word as to what's going on with that whole relationship, like, she just starts asking, like, she sends one of your friends to come ask for your ring because she would like to wear it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, we're not together. We're not a thing. Like, what the hell is happening right now?
You see that she tries to get Squall out of his comfort zone, and he keeps telling her, go away, go away, go away, go away.
I have to play the game again. I remember the love scene being, the entire love story, I remember being very forced. And I think Final Fantasy X is the most realistic love story that we've seen in Final Fantasy.
Now, a lot of people will tell you that Final Fantasy VIII did give you one of the best Final Fantasy songs of all time, Eyes on Me.
Yes.
Now, I do like that song. I know there's some people that don't like that song, but there's a lot of people that love it. And this is the game that birthed that song.
Love in Final Fantasy. This game tried very blatantly to play that angle hard. Mm-hmm. And love in Final Fantasy is always complicated because, like, okay, part 1 and part 2 and part 3, Part 4 gives you a love interest.
Cecil and Rosa.
But we don't know how that love interest came to be because Rosa already loved Cecil, and Cecil was already dedicated to Rosa before we got there. Mm-hmm. Then Final Fantasy V comes along, and essentially the main character, Butts, of Lix, he decides that he's going to go with the old man and Lena because Lena's hot. So cue Final Fantasy IX. Because part 5 and part 9 are just more about chasing ass, not love. Then Final Fantasy VI happens, where now Celeste and Locke, even though I don't like Locke, I can see what happened there. And it's one of those love stories that, even though I don't feel like it's particularly strong, it feels possible, and I respect it that it happens at all. I believe it.
Mm-hmm. This game is just, for me, A lot of
seven actually, I started looking at something, and I never realized this before. Everybody says there's a love story in Final Fantasy VII. There's not. I never realized it before, but playing through it this time, this could make a lot of people mad. There isn't. I know that everybody thinks there is, but look, Cloud was not in love with Aerith. Okay? In fact, because of all the extended universe stuff, Aerith had a major curiosity about Cloud. But I don't think she was ever actually going to end up with him because of all the stuff with Zack.
Mm-hmm.
That's what draws her to Cloud, not Cloud. She still loves Zack.
The fact that the first time she sees him, he's wearing soldier attire, and that's what Zack wore.
And he has Zack's eyes.
He also has Zack's sword.
Zack's attitude. And Zack's sword. Mm-hmm. He's exactly the man that she lost, and that intrigues her. And being the kind of person she is, she does follow through with it. But then I started thinking, well, Tifa's the love story. Then something hit me.
It's Yuffie.
No, in Final Fantasy IV, they kiss.
Yes.
In Final Fantasy VI, they kiss. Mm-hmm. In 10, they kiss.
Yep.
In 9, they kiss. In 8, they kiss. Tifa never shared a kiss with Cloud anywhere in the game.
To be fair, I don't remember Zidane and Dagger kissing. I remember them hugging, and that was it.
No, and then he strokes her hair, and then they play it off as that's the moment. Okay. They are very much together at the end of that game. In Final Fantasy VII, the closest it ever comes is Tifa is laying her head on Cloud's shoulder. Mm-hmm. And then Cloud goes to get up, and she says, "Please let me have this." So he just sits there. Mm-hmm. Even going further into Advent Children, they sleep in the same house in different beds. Well, they're not together. No. I know we want them to be. They're not together.
Aerith's death also played a huge part in why Cloud... I mean, Cloud was always weird to begin with, but he was living somebody else's life. It had somebody else's memories. When he finally got his own memories back, which happened... Oh my god, I gotta replay it. It happens after Aerith's death? Yes, it happens after Aerith's death. He gets his memories. He finally figures out what really happened and everything. But Aerith's death still played a heavy took a toll on him. And that's why when you see him in Advent Children, he's like never around. He never answers his phone.
But you can very much see when they go to their house that upstairs in their room, there are 2 beds. They do not sleep together.
No.
They sleep in the same room, but it's out of a convenience. And Tifa is still very much Cloud's best friend. And maybe they have comforted one another and maybe even been lost in one another once or twice. But I don't think those two are together. I don't think that ever actually played out. Now, in Final Fantasy VIII, it did. He very much was with Rinoa.
Mm-hmm. That kind of makes me wonder something with the Advent Children. If Tifa and Cloud are not together, what is with that boy that Tifa is always with and helping out?
He's an orphan. He's an orphan they took in because he was sick. In fact, there's actually a small anime that actually shows when he showed up to meet them.
And that girl,
he steals Cloud's phone off his bike. Mm-hmm. And that's how Cloud found him. Basically, because there are 2 animes. There's Before Crisis.
That shows Zack and
No, sorry, it's Final Order. Final Order is the order to kill Zack. That's one of the, and then there's another one which shows that that little boy like lived with like a grandmother or something, and then she died. Then he didn't have anybody, and he kind of wandered out on his own, and he ended up getting sick.
Mhm.
Oh, I think that was on like the complete edition Blu-ray DVD that they made of that.
Yeah, there's an actual anime showcasing that boy is not their boy. He's not related to them. They just take care of him because they found him. Cloud specifically found him.
It's called. I have the Blu-ray in my hand. That short is called "On the Way to a Smile," episode Denzel.
Yeah, and then at the end of that, you see that he gets sick, and they decide to watch him. And then shortly after that, Cloud gets sick, and he disappears.
Yep.
But that's what I mean is, I'm telling you, I don't think they're together. This isn't what we're supposed to be doing right now, so we're going to move away from the conversation. But the more I think about it, I don't think Cloud ended up with either of those girls at all.
Well, I
think Tifa is single.
Well, he definitely didn't end with Aerith. There's a reason.
Yes. But even during the time that they were together, I don't think that was not where it was going.
So technically, Jesse could have been the one that he might have.
Jesse was interested in him, but he had no interest towards her, and he doesn't really showcase a major interest in Tifa anywhere in the real game. That's very much like something that you can impose and say that you want it, but he never expressly shows that he is realistically interested in Tifa in that way. Next, Front Mission 3. This is a tactical RPG. Think Final Fantasy Tactics, but with mechs. Not quite a Gundam feel, but very interesting. These are very realistic walking tanks, war machines. They when you play the game, you have to worry about your pilot. You have to worry about skills that you get. Skills. You have to worry about the mechs have right and left arms, legs, and a body. You can lose any one of these pieces at any time during combat, and it will have an effect. If you put a shotgun in your right hand, and a sniper takes out that right hand, you don't have a shotgun anymore. All you got is left punches, and they suck because you never bothered to work on making that left punch mean something. The game is actually super interesting. I'm not going to go into too much here. I'm just going to tell you that if you liked tactical RPGs and you missed this one was brilliant. The storyline is a little bit forced. I played it again recently, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck is the main character's problem? I was like, am I fucking socially inept or something? But it is interesting once things get going. And the most interesting part about the game is at the very beginning of the game, you will be asked a question. It's very nonchalant. It feels like nothing. There was a character that will say, hey, come deliver the Wanzers with me. You could say, yeah, it's fine. I'm not doing nothing. Or you could say, no, that's your job. Do your job. I'm going to go down. It's my break, and I'm going to fucking surf the internet, see if I can get a present for my sister. Because you guys are part of a military complex that tests Wanzers, new grade military Wanzers. You test pilot them. Then when they're ready for service, you deliver them to the bases and let the government do what they do with them. If you take the Wanzers with your friend, you play a completely different game. If you don't go with your friend, you play a completely different game. Different characters, different moves, different stats, different story, 60-hour campaign, completely different games from that one choice that seems so nonchalant at the very beginning of the game changes everything. Next, Gran Turismo. Disembodied Voice put this on the list.
It's not a terrible game, actually. You know, if you like racing games, Gran Turismo is a big franchise,
and it's still going too.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Unlike your Mario Karts and your Crash team racing. This is more of a based in real life racing.
A more realistic racing.
Yep.
This game kind of took the world by storm. I do remember it was everywhere.
Mhm.
Everybody I knew was playing it. Everybody had the car that they liked tuned the way they wanted it, and everybody swore they'd found the best possible thing. And
Yep.
like, there was a lot to this game, way more. I think this game was remarkably ahead of its time. I don't care for one reason. When I play a racing game, for me, I have to feel the speed of that racing game. I never felt fast in Gran Turismo. It would be like, hey man, you're going like 200, 250 miles an hour. And I'd be like, am I really though? Like, am I really?
It looks like I'm going about 65.
Yeah, I like those games where like
F-Zero.
Yes,
going
right.
insanely fast, or Wipeout.
Or even games where it says like I'm going like 140, like a Need for Speed, but there's something Need for Speed does that makes it feel fast, like the way the screen kind of zooms in and all the lines come at you, and like the octane experience of the game is not there for me in Gran Turismo. I'm just kind of driving in circles really slowly, but really fast. Doesn't feel fast to me. I don't know. It's just me. I like things like Sonic Racing and
Mario Kart.
Yeah, and I like Mario Kart. It feels fast. I like Need for Speed. I need it to give me that feeling of adrenaline.
I never actually played the original Gran Turismo. I'm not a big racing fan. The only kind of racing games I play have a gimmick where I can throw shells at people or throw banana peels. Or, unrealistic racing games. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say one of my favorites of racing have been like the Cruisin' USA games.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like those games along with Mario Kart. Mario Kart's gonna be a given for racing.
Oh
games
yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not saying that Gran Turismo is not fun. I know that it has a big fan base.
Next.
Okay, this is on my list, and however you want to say it, Grandia, however you want to say it. Now, this had multiple sequels that came out. I think the 2 and 3 came out on PS2. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I know 3 is on the PlayStation 2 because I think I have it, and it's in a red case down on the shelf right now. When you said this game and I added it to the list, I had to go double check because I was like, isn't that a PlayStation 2 game? It is not.
No, the original's not. I know for a fact the original wasn't. Once again, games that I chose were games that I did play when I was a kid, games that I really liked. But once again, I haven't played this game in so long. It is so hard for me to remember because, like I said, I've played so many games since then. I promise you, though, that this is a good game.
See, that's a big difference between me and you is that I go back to games constantly, so I have a fairly fresh idea about what bothers me about a game or what I really truly like about it or how it plays or like. But then that's also negative because I can't tell you how many times I've gone back to games and I'm like, oh shit, I fucking love Jade Cocoon. And then I spent 3 hours in the starting storyline. And I was like, when do I get to fucking do something? Like,
that game had really awful controls, if I remember. But no, there are certain games on my list that I will talk more in depth because I do remember them. And then there's a few games that I have on my list that I can't quite remember completely what the plot was.
Well, I have nothing here. I don't think I even played this game.
That's actually surprising because it was my old friend that owned this game and played it, and I borrowed it from him.
I feel like I should have played this game, but I didn't.
I think you would like it. I really do, and I think a lot of people who will want to go back and play old PlayStation 1 games, I really think they should give this one a chance. There are going to be people out there that are saying I'm wrong. this game's not good. But then there might be people out there that will say, I'm right, this game is good.
Okay, next.
Yeah, another one of mine.
Jersey Devil.
Okay, I spent a lot playing this game. But like I said, I have 3 games on my list. And believe it or not, we've already went through some of my list. And the 3 games that I had the biggest problem remembering the plot. This is a platformer, by the way. Or action adventure-ish platform. It's weird. I haven't played this game. I don't own it anymore. And I haven't been able to find it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can order it online.
Looks like a Batman wannabe.
It's actually not a bad game. It's actually kind of fun. For me, it's nostalgia. Some of these games are nostalgic for me. Games that I remember playing as a kid. This game kind of irritated the hell out of me because as a kid, I kind of sucked at games. So it's another one of those games where you're going to have your people that love it. You're going to have your people that hate it. But at the same time, I think that everybody should go back and at least try it and give your own opinion on whether or not you think it's a good game or a bad game.
All right, next. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver.
This was definitely on Scott's list.
No, this was added by the Disembodied Voice.
Ah.
And...
It's not a bad game. Okay.
It's fine. Look, this is another reason why I wish some of the people that added to the lists could have been here, because I don't have much to say about this. Now, had this been Legacy of Kain, that game is fucking awesome. I played the shit out of that game.
Well, technically,
this game
is a Legacy of Kain.
No, it's not. Play Legacy of Kain and then play this game. They radically fucking changed. Like, I'm talking hardcore. If you were to give somebody Legacy of Kain today and they knew nothing about it, and before you did it, you gave them Soul Reaver and did not have Legacy of Kain on there, they would not know that these 2 games were related at all. They would not be able to tell.
I do like how it's made by Eidos Montreal, I think, and then Crystal Dynamics. Those are the guys that do the Tomb Raiders.
Yes. This game is fine, and that's what I've got. Sorry. I wish the people that added to the list would have made it to the show tonight.
Does that say Montreal? That does not say Montreal. I don't know. It says Eidos something. I can't read the bottom. But I actually never played. I never played Legacy of Kain.
Eidos Interactive.
Interactive. Okay.
Next. Legend of Dragoon.
Oh, God.
I am currently playing this game. I have made it my personal mission to go back and play every single game on my shelf to either completion or as far as I care to. And currently, I'm not very far. Currently, I am playing this game, and there are problems to it, but this game really does hold up quite well.
This was not just on my list, but I think it was on your list as well, Bill.
I'm also finding something, and everybody constantly talks about Lavitz, and they're like, thank God when Lavitz dies because I get King Albert. And I'm telling you something right now.
I liked Lavitz more than Albert.
I do, as a character base, and that's what these games are for me. RPGs, they have to have a decent system, but what matters are the characters, events, and overall story. That is what drives an RPG for me. And this game here, Lavitz, I like more as a character than I liked King Albert. And when Lavitz dies, I am not looking forward to that.
No, because you get used to him. He is a slower character than Albert. So when you get used to him, and you're used to how when he thrusts his spear, it's a little slower. You get used to that, and then the second you get Albert and you go into a fight, he zooms into the fucking enemy. You're like, God damn, you're a lot faster than Lavitz. It took me a long time to get used to that dude. But as a storyline, like you said, the fact that I liked Lavitz a lot. I thought he was a better character. I kind of wish he would have. If you had a choice, if that game gave you a choice, whether to stick with Lavitz the entire game or move and take Albert and Lavitz does something else. Let's say he doesn't die. I would have kept Lavitz in my team every time.
Now, what about you, Scott? This was on your list as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on mine, and I barely played it, but from what I heard and know, it is one of the must plays for PS1.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I beat this game, and I love this freaking game. I really do.
It's also a game that should have had a sequel, but never did.
This is the one game. If I had to pick a game that
I don't think it actually should have had a sequel. If I remember right, this game, when it ended, it ended. It wraps its entire story up, legacy forward and back. So it says, this is how this Dragoon shit came into being. This is why we're dealing with it. These are the results of it. This was the black monster and yada yada. And then at the very end, they close it all up in a big bow. And the only way you could do another one of these is to do the Final Fantasy game where none of the games are tied into one another. But since the Legend of Dragoon goes out of its way to create a standing universe, if you did another one, it would feel weird because it would just be a bunch of other guys just getting Dragoon powers, and really then...
I think that they should have done a prequel. Because as you know, Rose gives you a backstory about what happened to people who were Dragoons before. Because she was... When you start the game, she has her powers.
And nowadays, we've actually seen a game that does that. There is a game right now where after you play through the entire huge 140-plus hour campaign, you can actually download the DLC and play another freaking 80-hour campaign as the bad guys.
That would be Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You could play as the good guys, quote unquote, and then all those guys that you saw as bad guys, you can see why they are what they are by playing an entire game as them.
Yes, I would love to have had a prequel, like Legend of Dragoon 2 could have showed you why. What I mean, like I told you, the backstory, the cutscene that Rose tells you, you get to see. This game was made by Sony.
Yeah, it's by Sony, which is the reason it will not be remade and will not get a sequel, because there are also ideas and concepts in this game. It became too big of a thing. If they do this again, because I'm telling you right now, I'm playing it.
So they couldn't remaster it or anything like that?
No. No. The reason is because, and I've made this argument before, I have fought tooth and fucking nail on this channel to fight with people about why these remakes are happening now. And it's not just in creativity or whatnot. Here's what really happened. Video games, like comic books, were made for a single purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Make the game, put it out, make another game, move the fuck on. This created a problem because when you talk about game programming, the source code is fucking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can data mine doesn't mean you can do shit without that source code. And a lot of these games, they were made, then they were done, and they weren't just going to keep them on the hard drive because they got other fucking games to make. So they deleted these games. And once the source code was gone, these games were meant to go out, be played, and then we were supposed to move on to other things. The industry never had it in mind that games were ever going to be movies. It was not that understanding. Just like comic books. There are comic books that are lost to time because we didn't know what they would become. So we just made them, printed them, then some kid read them, tore them the fuck up in his fucking treehouse or whatever, and then his mom threw the shit away.
I think that this is one of those games that I wanted a sequel for so many years, so many years I wanted a sequel for this game. It didn't even have to follow these characters. It could have been.
It wouldn't be able to.
It could have been a new set of people. I mean, a remaster like they're doing with Final Fantasy VIII. They're not really changing anything. You get a remake like they are with 7. You're basically going to play an entirely different game.
Don't be surprised if if Final Fantasy VIII goes over well. And just so you understand, Final Fantasy VIII is another game. The source code did not exist. A lot of people think that Square Enix is putting out Final Fantasy VIII. That's bullshit. They're not. They're not. They're putting their name on it. Just like Warner Brothers put their name on Superman. They didn't make that movie. What's going on is that a couple of years ago, there was the idea to redo Final Fantasy VIII. And they started looking, and they figured out that pretty much the entire fucking game is gone. They don't have it. They threw it away. And because they don't have the source code, they can't just remake the game. Then it started to become a little thing like, what about like modding? Because you see it in Final Fantasy VII where they just simply remove the skins and put on a better skin. There's a reason you can't do this with Final Fantasy VIII. Unlike Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, all the character moves and programs are built into the reactions of the specific characters. It's not just simply wrapping something around a wireframe so you can swap one thing for another. In order to redo Final Fantasy VIII, you have to redo Final Fantasy VIII. Every single part of the game. That's the only way to do it. So what they did was they gave it out to another company that knows what they're doing and let them fuck with it for a couple of years. As they said, well, that character model looks good now, but they had to build all this shit from the ground up, from scratch, all over again.
I thought that the ones who are remastering 8 also did other remasters.
They did. They've done a lot of remasters. In fact, that's the reason they were asked to do it, is because these guys are particularly good at taking something dead and knowing that the source code doesn't exist and then making it work. And so what you're looking at, Final Fantasy VIII, is literally built from the ground up. They had to make that game again. So don't be surprised if when you play it, there are things missing. Certain conversations that maybe they didn't find, or certain things that weren't coded because they didn't know that that part existed. So that's the problem you have when they have to do a game like this. And this game would have to be redone like that. They do not have the source code for The Legend of Dragoon. So the only thing we can get is one of those really bad Final Fantasy VII high-res things, or they remake this game completely. And if they do that, it's not going to be the same game. It might excite you, but just like Final Fantasy VII is not going to be Final Fantasy VII, not in the way you remember it. It's going to be very, very, very different. It will be cool, but if you are a stickler for the story and the characters and the designs and the things that were laid down in the past, Final Fantasy VII is going to shock you because it will not be what you think it's going to be. Right. And this game, same thing. If they redo this, it will not be this. They will have to change everything about it. Could be cool, could be bad. And this fight system, though it worked back then, you might be hard-pressed to sell this fight system today. The whole timing your move and picking what move you want to use, and because it's not like, they're not actually like combos. You select like move 1, and that's double slash, and you could just use that for the whole game, or you can move on to volcano or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And harpoon!
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, now that I'm playing it again, while this fight scene took me a couple of hours to kind of get back into, and it took a couple of hours to get back into, I want to stress that to you. This game feels old when you play it. but it's so good. But I'm warning you, if you're remembering this game on nostalgia, you might not want to play it again, because it's going to take a couple of hours for you to get used to what doesn't work. The timing is wrong in the game. The little square that comes in, and it's not right. And it could be an idea of we're playing it on HD TVs now, and maybe that somehow changes the frame rate and makes it different, but the timing is wrong, which make the game really hard. It took me about an hour to start getting the timing for double slash.
Still a good game.
Next.
Legend of Legaia.
This game was unique as shit. Its fighting system, even today, I don't think has been duplicated, except for in one game that I'm aware of.
What would that be?
Now, just to put this out here, the way this game worked was all three of these characters are basically martial artists.
Uh-huh.
You can pick I'm trying to remember, it's like punch, kick, and is it like a hard punch or something like that?
Oh, I think so.
But anyways, you have to create combinations in battle. So say your guy has so many ability points, and this one punch is one ability, the kick is 2, and then this like heavy uppercut is like 3. Well, say you have 5 ability. Say you go punch, punch, uppercut. That might actually turn into a combo, and that's how the mana, quote unquote, kind of works in this game, where you'll be like punch, punch, kick, uppercut move, and then it'll be like ka-ching, and all these lines will go in, and then he'll do like a really special attack. That's how that worked. It was actually really innovative for its time and helped the game to feel incredibly unique in terms of all the other games that were out there. Nothing else played like this. Nothing.
I also remember it having a really good story as well.
I remember the story being decent. I don't remember it standing out and blowing my mind in any way whatsoever. I remember there being some cliche to it.
Right.
But it was very unique, and I think that's what helps it stand the test of time. If you have any desire to play something that's an RPG, but with a fighting system that works, it works very well, but it feels like nothing else you've played, this is probably for you if you're looking to step out and experience something new that still feels, how do I put this? Normal. It still feels very grounded in RPGs of the time. Next, Lunar, the Silver Star story.
This is you, Bill.
Lunar's amazing. Lunar is amazing. It feels like an anime. The cutscenes are undeniably great. The music stands out as some of the best ever put on the PlayStation. It really, truly does. I'm telling you. The unique thing about Lunar is that if you played this on the Game Boy Advance, you did not play it on the PlayStation. If you played this on, say, the Sega CD, you did not play this on the PlayStation. The reason is because every single time that Lunar has come out, they have changed something in the telling of Lunar to make it unique to the time it was told. In the Sega CD, you will reach a boat. That boat is about to take you across sea. Luna leaves your team. She goes back home. In the PlayStation, she does not do that. She goes with you on that boat. And from that point, every storyline is different. Be it, even if it's a small difference, it is uniquely different through the course of the entire game because of this one event. In the Game Boy Advance, the wizard, the mage kid, the cadet mage, he shows up. Okay, you go to him in this game, but in the Game Boy Advance game, he shows up in the town before you ever do the first dungeon. So this changes certain ideas and elements in Lunar, that the retelling of Lunar is different every time, which actually adds to something about what Lunar is. Lunar is a legend, and every time somebody tells you a legend, depending on who's telling it, the story is slightly different. And it actually plays into the releases of Lunar, that if you play every single version of Lunar, you are playing a legend. And that legend is slightly different every time you hear it. It's real simple. It is an old-style RPG. You will be level grinding. It can be quite difficult. But basically what's going on is Dwayne is a dragon master. He doesn't know it. He stumbles upon this as you play the game, basically. He has the girl, the cliche girl that likes him, but he's too dense to know it. You go to the... and then it follows your basic... You got a friend... Your friend is this big fat kid that's like seeking adventure, but he wants to be rich, which is interesting because in this game, unlike other RPGs, you'll actually get to a point where he will find an opportunity and he will stop following you. He will no longer be on your team. That's your best friend, but he will find an opportunity to run his own weapon shop, and he'll be like, this is what I want to do. He's like, this Dragon Master stuff, this is you, man. It's not me. And giving real power and life to these characters are those little moments that are hidden in the story like that, where he says, look, man, this is your adventure. It's not my adventure. And he goes off to run a store. And you can actually go to his store and visit him and buy his stuff. That changes the dynamic of how these characters work, because it makes them more real to the situation at hand. They're not just going to follow you blindly and become heroes because, hey, I said I'd go as far as Anchorhead. This game is great. It's a hardcore classic RPG, and if you've never tried it, I advise you at least give it a legitimate shot. But understand, it's an old-style RPG. You will be level grinding. Next. Marvel versus Capcom.
Clash of Superheroes.
This game was right on the heels of, wasn't it Street Fighter versus X-Men? Was that the first one that these guys did?
It was, I think it was that one, or maybe it was one of the other ones, but this ultimately leads to the ones that we get later on, to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and the other ones. This brings together a better lineup of characters from both brands, from Marvel and Capcom.
I thought SNK vs. Capcom was first.
No, what I mean is that Marvel and Capcom had a contract, but I believe where that starts out, I believe that it's...
Might have been X-Men versus Street Fighter.
I think it's X-Men versus Street Fighter. I think that's the first time that this contract went full, and then after that, Capcom started adding other characters and playing with the formula, and then Marvel versus Capcom became kind of the pinnacle of that. There was another thing on the side, though, because there was SNK versus Capcom, and that's a completely different thing because that's the SNK company who made fighting games. Like they did like Samurai Showdown.
They also did King of Fighters, Fatal Fury.
Yes. And King of Fighters is actually a collection fighter. It's not, because King of Fighters is a collection fighter from guys like the King of Fury, Fatal Fury, and like the Art of
World
Fighting.
Heroes.
No, World Heroes isn't in it because, in SNK versus Capcom, none of the World Hero guys made it in, which is a shame because Bruce Lee humps your face to death in that game. To death, Shane. He will hump your face.
I've seen it.
This game, the first one, it had a couple of standout characters that became big deals too, actually. Like, nobody knew what that captain dude was, the Captain Commando dude. Nobody knew what the shit that was until this game came out. And like it made certain characters really famous again that had kind of been forgotten, like Strider. Strider had kind of been one of those characters that had a really cool game and then just kind of died off. And yet he showed up here, and all of a sudden he was really cool again.
Isn't that really, really awesome character Tron Bonne in this game?
Yes, she's in this game. And
was it this one or the second one?
She may have been. Is she in the first? She may only be in the second, but Mega Man was in this one, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure Mega Man was in, and also the dude that rides the angry dude in the white getup that has the giant mecha. He's in this game.
Be honest with you, I never played the first. I've only played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3 and.
The first game is actually really good, but I will tell you that if you've played the second, this game feels like the weak version. Because the second is so big and so good that it kind of hurts itself.
I knew when I threw this on the list, I either had to choose between this or some of those Street Fighter collections that they released at the time. Which that right there would have been like,
No, I wouldn't have said that because I actually would have had no issue putting on certain things. Like Street Fighter is huge, man. It's
well, the Street Fighter collection actually went to 2 collections, so I decided to go with just Marvel vs. Capcom because it still has the Street Fighter fighters as well. So
well, yeah. And to be fair, it was still made in the same style because it is Capcom that made this game. This game does stand out, and it does have a legitimate purpose. It has a hard history, too. This is a damn good game. And if you've never played it, it is very, very worth your time. But if you like the second game, this does feel like all the characters are missing if you're going back in time. Looks like Omar says if you're talking about crossovers, they did X-Men versus Street Fighter, then Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, then Marvel. So I was right. Yeah, I was right. The X-Men versus Street Fighter was the first one.
Okay.
Next, Metal Gear Solid.
Enough said.
That's almost true.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid is insanity. It really is. It helped to push the gaming world look, man, this game did things that nobody saw coming. Literally nobody. It breaks the fourth wall without ever disrupting the game when it tells you to check the back of the case to get the number. When they read your memory card and blow your mind in the middle of the game.
Oh, Psycho Mantis fight is one of the most unique boss fights in any video game.
Yes. And the second controller port.
Yep. It's
the fact that every boss is in. Here's my thing. Metal Gear, to me, Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3, these games showed us how boss fights are supposed to work. The boss fight is supposed to stand out and not necessarily be the hardest thing you ever did. That's not always necessary. It has to be unique, memorable, and different from all the other crap you went through. It needs to be unique to the experience. And Metal Gear is the absolute master of pulling this off. Every time you fought a boss, it was different, it was unique, and it was interesting, and it stood out from the rest of the stuff that you were doing. One of the things that hurts other games nowadays where they don't really get that is they just put out a boss and he's really fucking hard. And sure, I guess that makes you feel good when you win, But that guy's just really hard. There's nothing to remember about him. And that's part of what hurt Metal Gear moving forward, is that after part 3, it's like they forgot that. And then the bosses just became kind of hard. They didn't stand out the way they used to. Like, even the final guy, when you're fighting against Metal Gear, if you throw the chaff grenade, you screw up his targeting systems, and he opens his face, and then he starts looking at you directly to actually see you and shooting the missiles. And did you know that when he does that, if you throw a flash bomb, he will lose sight of you?
Yes, I did know that.
It blows up and he can't see.
Right.
And then not just that, but like later on, even in the Metal Gear Portable Ops, the final guy of the game, his power is that he talks shit. That's literally his power, as ridiculous as that is. He talks shit, and you lose life because he talks real shit. But if you're real smart about this, and I did this on accident, he killed me like fucking 9 times because he keeps being like, ba, 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 ba. And for every time he talks, you're losing life, and then you die. And I got him real close one time, and I was so pissed because I couldn't kill him. Then I made a discovery. Crazy discovery. I was just moving items in and out of my inventory to try anything I could, and I threw a flash bomb too close to myself by accident. And when it blew up, I got that ringing in my ears, that beep. And I couldn't hear him talking shit. And so I wasn't losing life. And I was like, oh my God. So I just started whipping freaking stun grenades everywhere and just getting every hit I could in between throwing those things. And then I beat him. And Metal Gear Solid 1 starts that. And it does it beautifully. Every single boss is memorable. And it's also the game that made us accept that for some reason we can have hour-and-a-half storylines in our, and I mean single fucking cutscenes in our video game. But that was not acceptable until Metal Gear.
No, Metal Gear, because even while you're playing the game, the gameplay is real good. And you know what you have to do. You know what your objective is. When they stop all that and they have a long conversation about what you're doing, what you need to do, you get engrossed into the tale more and more. You don't want to skip the cut. I've never skipped a Metal Gear cutscene. I've played Metal Gear a lot. I've beaten these games a lot. And every time I play them, I still watch every cutscene, even though I know what the game's about.
Yeah.
It's because there might be something in my third playthrough that I didn't realize in my second playthrough. I'm always figuring something different out each time, and I fight bosses differently each time, except for Sniper Wolf. I still use the same bitch move.
And what is that bitch move?
Well, it really works in the fourth one when you fight Crying Wolf.
Oh my God, you hide under that truck, don't you?
I hide under that truck and I snipe her when she comes out of that fucking robotic dog mech thing. Yeah, because she can't find you. She can smell you, but she can't find you. She'll run around the fucking truck.
It's truck, Shane.
But she can't pinpoint your location. So she'll run around and then she'll come out of that thing with her railgun looking for you. And you just sit there and you snipe her. And she's like, oh, where are you? And she'll run around the area again looking for you, but she can't find you.
This game became a classic for a reason. And if you're a fan of like did you like the third Rambo movie? Because a lot of that kind of finds its way into Metal Gear. And movies of that nature, the kind of bigger than life action hero kind of finds its way into Metal Gear, but then it finds a way to tone that down. And it changes the aspect because unlike other games, in Metal Gear, you're just a dude. And if you fuck up, you, as badass as Snake is, he actually can't fight the entire military base on his own. You will lose that fight.
It does mean
the There's also a weird morality thing that plays through every Metal Gear. The only person you have to kill is the boss.
Yeah, you can literally. You can. I know that. I don't know if they added it, if they had a mode in it in the original, but in the second and third one, like especially the third one, because I remember the name of it. You have a mode where if you get caught once, it's game over.
Yeah.
It's literally you need to sneak through the forest, sneak through each base without being detected. Now, every boss that you fight will detect you, even though if you don't leave a trail behind, they somehow know you're there.
They know you're there.
Now,
but then that actually plays into the storyline in general. They're the reason you're there.
Yep. So they know you're there. But the random guards patrolling, you don't need to kill them. In fact, in Metal Gear 3, you get titles for depending on how you play the game. Like, if you want to be like Nick and put a croc head on and a shotgun and kill every single fucking human being
oh my God,
that you come across,
that.
that's not tactical. That's not espionage. That's just action.
Yeah.
And he pays for that when he gets to the sorrow.
Yes. You don't want to kill so many people when you're walking through that fucking river and every person that you've killed touches you and you lose life. Well, if you've killed every single person you've come across, you are walking down a river of death. Now, but like, and just getting like not being detected, not being not dying once gets you the title of Fox.
There was nothing else like that.
No,
the whole every game was about run through and shoot everybody. This game is the game that said stop for a second.
Think about it.
You can't do that here.
You look at a situation where you've got all these guys with guns, and you're like,
"What are you about to say, Scott?" Because
you don't. I was gonna say the only other game similar to this style of Metal Gear Solid was, I think, Siphon Filter, or whatever. Yeah, I think that was the only other game that was similar.
Well, actually,
aspects.
I think the biggest contributor to the Splinter Cell games is Metal Gear.
Yes, without Metal Gear, I don't think Splinter Cell would have happened. Period.
Yeah, I know. For me, when I remember adding this to my list, I'm sure it was on everyone else's list.
But I actually think that Siphon Filter, I think that's still a third-person shooter because I don't remember hiding in it.
But for me, I remember playing this. I enjoyed it a lot. And it is another one of those classics that has to be played. But I did enjoy the GameCube version of it better.
Now that's
because they added a bunch of stuff from Metal Gear Solid 2, and then they redid all the cutscenes to make it feel like something out of the fucking Matrix.
It's flash.
I would actually argue that the voice acting and atmosphere in the first game is better than the remake was.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. The GameCube version is fucking easy mode.
And even though it's unbelievable in both of them,
yes,
it's more believable in the first game. Like, if you analyze the remake and you watch where that ninja does that cut, and the whole game they've been telling you how serious and how realistic this situation is, and then he does this like backflip and lands on his knee, he's dead. He's dead. He should have immediately been cut his head off. Brap, dead. But then the game plays flippy kicks and allows him to live. In the first game, everything he did was considered. When that first happened, and that click happens where he hears the click of Ocelot's gun and Ocelot fires, he jumps back into a crane form, lands on the ground, and immediately is ready to jump in any direction possible. In the remake, he hears the click of Ocelot's gun, does a backflip, and lands on his knees. He is now stuck to the position that he's in, and had Ocelot just shot twice, game over. Let's go see something else. It's too exaggerated, and I actually think that game...
It's still good. Don't get us wrong. It's
great gameplay, but I think it hurt the story.
Not only
adding all that flash.
It hurt something else, too.
What's that?
When you play the original, it can get hard because you don't have your first person. When you have a gun out, there's no such thing as a first person mode.
Right.
look to shoot.
Unless you have a gun that is expressly designed for first-person combat.
Like the Nikita missile launcher.
Or the PSG-1.
Right. Now, in Metal Gear and the Twin Snakes, every gun you can go into the first-person mode. In fact, I took it over to Bill's one day, and we beat it in one night.
Yeah.
It's easy mode. It is an easier version of the game, but it's still a great game nonetheless.
Yes. Let's move on. Next.
Ooh, really?
Yes, the Mortal Kombat trilogy. This was added exclusively by Scott on the list here.
Yeah.
And it was exclusive to PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it wasn't exclusive to PlayStation because it was on Nintendo 64. But there was some exclusive stuff to the PlayStation version.
I was going to say they got something nobody else got, but I can't remember what made it stand out.
I think it was... Jesus Christ.
It definitely was not Jesus Christ. Yeah. I can promise you that it was not Jesus Christ.
I think Shang Tsung's transformations were better on PlayStation 1, where on 64, I think they loaded and froze for a while.
I can't see this game being good on the 64. No offense to the 64. It's a great console, but fighters seem to be better on the PlayStation than on the weird shaped 64 controller.
Yeah. I know I had to choose this over some of the other Mortal Kombat games that came out on PlayStation.
It's because fucking Mortal Kombat Shitty 4 happened on the PlayStation.
Yeah. but PlayStation did have the third Mortal Kombat game.
It did.
But this had a lot more. This had a shit ton of characters compared to Mortal Kombat 3.
So it was obviously the better choice to choose from. Mortal Kombat's not a bad fighting series. I have my preferences on my fighting games, which ones I think are better. Mortal Kombat doesn't even make the top 5, in my opinion. For me, it's always been too choppy of a fighter. And those older ones, you can be so cheap. And we're talking real cheap. You know, uppercut.
No, you can. There's a screw up. Yeah, there's a screw up in the game where if you do the jump kick and then you time the next jump kick exact, they will stand up into the jump kick and you can just do that and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yes,
it's a perfect frame hit. And also, you got that stupid ass thing where you just do the left right punch, and they just get stuck in it for like 80% of their life bar.
Dude, I'm telling you,
start going back.
Dude, Mortal Kombat. I loved the game when I was younger. Today, Mortal Kombat straight pisses me off when I play the old games because nowadays everybody knows how to be a cheap fuck, and they will do so. You got to play with people you know that you can dictate, hey, you know that's bullshit. Don't do it.
Play the game right.
Right.
Now, like I said, Mortal Kombat's not a bad series. They've had bad games, but not a bad series.
And to be fair, Mortal Kombat also suffers from the same problem Street Fighter did at this time. The computer can do charge back moves while walking towards you. Fuck the AI in these old games.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. If I can't do it, the computer shouldn't be able to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Period. Next.
Parasite
Eve.
Ooh, who put this one on?
I did.
Okay.
This game is... Say Resident Evil decided it was an RPG. That's what this is.
Yep.
It's very much what this is.
Yeah, I liked this when it came out. I think I almost completed it.
I don't remember playing it, to be fair.
I also liked that Aya Bree was a very different kind of character for her time. She was just, not just her. Okay, I'm not going to play that whole, oh my God, she wasn't just a sex symbol thing. The thing that was interesting about Parasite Eve is that all the characters in the game just felt like people. There's an overweight cop who's got like a mustache who's just looking to fucking be done with his shift and go home. There's there's a skinnier guy that's kind of addicted to coffee. That nobody looked like a supermodel. Even Aya, who very much you could probably look at her and say, God damn, she was really attractive. She's not a supermodel. When you see her, at 80% of the time, she's just wearing like jeans and a jacket. And she's a very down-to-earth, realistic character, which was something we were not seeing at the time.
I never got to. I don't think I ever played Parasite Eve. I think I may have. I can't remember. I know it spawned, a sequel, and then the third birthday was part of the Parasite Eve games.
Yeah.
I own that game, and I've never once taken it off my shelf to play it.
I've played it. It's not bad. Now, you say Parasite Eve 2 is not that great.
I thought it was kind of a waste.
But
yeah, I never played the second one. I played the first one, and it's like, part of me wishes I did get to play the second one, but part of me doesn't.
I just don't remember it.
The way the game plays is you very much move around like any other RPG. Random battles activate on screen where you are. So a guy will just appear. Then it takes you into this mode where you got to run around, you got to dodge moves in real time. So if they're shooting like acid or something, you have to move around. You hit the button and it brings up your field of attack. Inside that field of attack, you could shoot your guns. Now you actually have to be careful though, because unlike other RPGs, your gun does have ammo and you can run out of it. So you got to worry about things just like in Resident Evil, like you've got to worry about your ammunition and things of that nature. But at the same time, you have to worry about, you can't be under-leveled and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting that went into this game, and the atmosphere of it is what I'm getting at. Like, as you play it, it has a combination idea of like Final Fantasy and kind of like a Tales game, but not quite either of those. But its atmosphere is 100% sci-fi version of Resident Evil.
Yeah, when I played this game, it felt like a combination of Final Fantasy with Resident Evil, and there was another game that I don't think I put on the list, but another game that felt close to this. It was called Fear Effect, I think.
I've got that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I like this right here. Before we can go on to the next game, Omar here put his must plays in the chat.
Okay.
And his ones are Final Fantasy VII, naturally. Resident Evil 2, of course. Now, he put an interesting one in. I'm not going to bash it. I played it only a little bit. I personally didn't care for it, but I know people did. Chrono Cross, which was obviously, an underrated sequel to his favorite SNES game, Chrono Trigger. Now, he put another game on here that I played, and I can't believe I forgot about it. Bloody Roar 2.
I still have the third one on the shelf downstairs.
I could not. And then he put Twisted Metal 2, and then Mega Man X4.
Yeah.
I mean, those games are good. Like I said, the only one that I'm not going to say it sucks. I'm just going to say I didn't care for Chrono Cross like I did Chrono Trigger.
I feel like if I gave it a legitimate chance, which
Right.
Since that's what I'm doing right now is going through the entire shelf, it cannot be as bad as I remember. And here's the thing. I don't remember ever getting out of the first dungeon. I remember buying this game during that problem I had where if it was like, I don't have that game, so I would just buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just collecting for the sake of collecting, which I fucking hate, by the way. Now that my attitude towards collecting has changed dramatically. But that's a different topic, probably for my show in general. Anyways, when my attitude changed, I started going back through the shelf. And I remember playing the first dungeon of Chrono Cross and saying, this game is not that awful. I don't want to play it right now. It doesn't make me want to play it, but it's not bad. And that sentiment alone, that it stayed on the shelf when I was getting rid of everything, makes me feel like if I went back to it, I could enjoy it.
I would need to go back and play it. I don't remember caring for it as much, but you also got to remember I really liked Chrono Trigger.
Yes, but it doesn't play like that.
No, and maybe that's what turned me off on it.
Yeah.
But it's just Chrono Trigger was so freaking good.
Okay, next, Resident Evil 2.
I put this on my list. I think you did too, Bill?
No.
Scott?
No.
Was I the only one?
Yes.
Well, look at there, Omar. We have a game that we think is we have something in common right here.
There's a reason that this game did not hit my list, and there's a reason it didn't hit Scott's, because me and Scott both picked the same game.
I know what you're going to pick.
And it beat this one out.
I loved Resident Evil 2. In fact, I have to be honest, when I was a kid, this game actually terrified the shit out of me. My cousin played it, and I would watch him play it, and man, it terrified the shit out of me. It really did.
I think this is one of the first games that I ever played and beat, period, but not the PlayStation version, the 64 version.
I remember you could pick the blood color in the 64 version. I don't know. It's just such a strange option. If you go into the settings and you click the button, one of the settings in there down towards the bottom, there's a bunch of colors. You can have black, blue, green, like purple, like just all sorts of shit. That stands out to me that you could pick the blood color. I remember I used to make it black and be like, oh, something's wrong with these guys.
But what's to say about Resident Evil 2 that hasn't already been said before?
Almost nothing now.
It got a remake. So it's a great game. I mean, anybody that's played it knows what it's all about. Anybody that hasn't played it should play it.
The biggest surprise with Resident Evil 2 was when you beat the game and then unlocked the other, like, okay, you beat the game. Say you play Leon because everybody has a hard dick for Leon. So you play Leon, and when you beat the game, it unlocks something called Claire B. And then you play through her game on the other disc, and it's different. Things that you picked up are not there for her. And there are certain puzzles that you can start as Leon in game A, but you can't complete. You have to, and then that drove me crazy, because when I was playing the game, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And I was walking around, I was like, I can't figure out this puzzle. I guess it's not important because it's not stopping me. So I just went on. And then when I got her game, I was like, oh shit. Because then it hit me. You can start puzzles with him.
And finish her.
Yeah, you finish in game B, and it changes. It opened the game up in a dramatic way. There was also a type of mercenary survival thing that you could do, some secret mode in the game.
Yeah, there was the playing as Hunk.
Yeah,
there was playing as Hunk and Tofu.
Yeah,
Tofu. You can do that in the remake too.
Yes, you can be Tofu in the remake as well.
This game is like I said, it's been talked about before. This is probably one of the best Resident Evils in the series. A lot of people will fight you and say 4 is the greatest of them all.
No.
I think 2 is better than 4. I think 2 is the best in the series. That's my opinion. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It's my opinion.
All right. Yeah. You're right.
Bill's is Resident Evil 0.
What the fuck?
Billy and Rebecca, timeless characters in his eyes.
All right, that's it. Next.
Oh, okay. Look at this. The first one. It's like I know you guys.
No.
This was the director's cut of the first one.
I didn't say director's cut.
The list you sent me says Resident Evil D. It says it. I've got it right here.
D was a separate one.
What?
D is a game that was a horror game, one of the very first line of PlayStation games.
Oh, you're talking about D.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't have D on the list now, so you'll have to bring that up as soon as we're done with this. Because, look, it said Resident Evil, then it said D. I assume that was directors.
No.
Well, that's sorry. Fucking D is a rare game, Scott. You got to be honest with yourself here before you can get mad at me. How many people even know D exists?
Let's see, how many people know the first line of PlayStation games that existed?
First line of PlayStation games. What are you talking about?
The very first line, especially with those tall boxes and stuff.
A lot of people. I had PlayStation day one when it came out. I got it from Toys R Us. Traded in my Super Nintendo and 12 games to get it. I had those tall boxes.
Before I say, Scott, was this game an interactive movie and adventure game?
It kind of is.
Because I Googled it.
But it's also got some a bit of strategy, and it's got the horror elements as well. It's one of the early horror type of games. So
yes,
I had to look it up because I honestly have never heard of it.
Most people have not. D is rare. D is very rare. In fact, the chances in all the time that we have ever been buying games, even when we were game hunting, you never came across a copy of D because it's that rare.
It also came out on the 3DO Interactive, Sega Saturn, PlayStation MS-DOS.
I barely knew of its existence, and until I just now rechecked his list, there was no way I would have assumed that D did not mean Resident Evil Directors, because it also was placed right after Resident Evil. This is a honest mistake. You can't be that mad for me. D is exceptionally rare. More people know about Vampire Hunter D than know about D.
Yeah, I've never heard of this game. I had to Google it. But I know, now that I'm seeing it, it came out in 95. It had a sequel on the Dreamcast, D2.
Yes, it did, and nobody knows about that either. Like,
interesting. Like I said,
yes, D was one of the early survival horror-esque games, but it was still preceded by what's that game where you're the weird guy in the house walking around? It's a super old game.
Like the Alone in the Dark game?
Yeah, I think that preceded D.
The Clock Tower or something like that.
Clock Tower preceded D as well, because Clock Tower is actually on the Super Nintendo.
Really?
Yes.
Well, goddamn, D on eBay is $400. Jesus.
See? Rare as fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking for it because only the people that know it. It's a collector's
But he is
market
right.
game.
But he is right when he said early PlayStation release game.
Yes, it's in one of the giant boxes.
It came out in 95, the same year as the PlayStation 1.
And to put it onto the same list, to be fair, Director's Cut Resident Evil is also one of the games that originally came out in one of those tall boxes.
Yeah, the very first Resident Evil did.
Yes.
The Director's Cut came out later on that included the demo of Resident Evil 2, which
that case says, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see.
The only difference between Resident Evil and Resident Evil's Director's Cut there was a special mode added to Director's Cut, which allowed you to arrange the game. Now, this was a big deal because games like nowadays, this has become a big thing where people play Zelda in like arrange mode and they shuffle all the areas and items and whatnot. Resident Evil Director's Cut, you could play the original game and then you could put it on something called arrange mode and it would change where all the items were. So you might find a Magnum in one spot where you originally found something else.
And technically, the Resident Evil Director's Cut version kind of crossed over when they released it on the DS. The Resident Evil Deadly Silence, I think?
Yeah. And then Director's Cut had a couple of costumes. I combined Resident Evil and the Director's Cut and just put them as one spot, because if you get Resident Evil Director's Cut, you could just play normal mode, and that was Resident Evil. And then arrange mode is the Director's Cut. It has like different costumes, and there's a couple extra storylines. Not much, to be fair. It didn't add that much, but the arrange mode is what really helped it stand out and change it. It added immense replay value to a game that kind of, once you beat it and you knew where everything was, you could go through it in like 2 hours.
Okay. Okay.
Now, as for the game I did not put on the list, you
Kind of-
looked that up.
I
That
did.
game was D, and that game,
Kind of
it's
wanna-
rare. It's
I wanna try it.
interesting, but it's rare as shit. And about the only way you're going to play it is somebody already has to have it.
Yeah, when
You
I
have to
played it,
spend almost $600 fucking dollars, or
Yeah.
you have to emulate it.
yeah, I played it around the time that the PS1 came out through I think it was like Pekin Video Library at the time that was nearby where I lived.
Yeah,
So I went there and checked it out and played it, and it's like, this is dark, creepy, because you play as a daughter of a doctor who's more or less gone demented in a hospital,
yes.
and you're going through psychological things and stuff. So
I've never seen. I've never, like I said, never heard of it. It would be interesting to see it.
Okay, next.
So, classic Spyro.
Classic Spyro. This was added by the disembodied voice, I believe.
There's nothing wrong. Okay, now get this. Now this is important in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so you look at we already had Crash, and Crash, was made by Naughty Dog. Naughty
Yes.
Dog goes on and makes Jack and Daxter.
Yes.
Spyro was made by Insomniac, who goes on to make your Ratchet and Clank.
Yes.
So, you had I consider like Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, like the mascots sort of in the PS2 era. On the
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think by the time we hit PlayStation 2, the mascot thing had died. I don't think PlayStation 2 or Xbox has a mascot.
But Spyro could have fought. But Spyro was, in my opinion, could have fought Crash for the.
Don't think-
Spyro was the first
I
game.
would have fought Yoshi. There you go.
No, really, Spyro's important. It's actually very important, more than a lot of people even give it credit for. The Nintendo 64 had Mario. It was a full 3D game. At the time, PlayStation did not have any full 3D games. They did not exist. In fact, it was talked about often that the PlayStation couldn't handle a full 3D game. A lot of people don't know this, but the N64 has different capabilities that make it slightly superior to the PlayStation. It really does. And part of that was in the way it handled 3D. It could make these giant worlds and then allow you to search them, where like other games that were in 3D, they were never free roaming 3D. Look at games like Crash. You played levels. That's important because Spyro was the first game to show you that not only could PlayStation handle it, it could be done very well. And every single one of these that they made did nothing but get better and show the possibilities that PlayStation had at its disposal, one game after another.
Mm-hmm.
This game is actually important to the history of PlayStation, not just in terms of being a must-play. It is a huge deal. It was the first full roaming, successful 3D game on the PlayStation.
And it's a good game.
And it's a good game.
It is good. I like it. I used to own Spyro. Played it a lot.
Next, Star
Yes.
Ocean, the second story.
This is a great game. And I think this was on my list. You're probably noticing, if you guys have seen my list, you're probably noticing a pattern. I have a lot of RPGs.
Star Ocean was very good. It plays an awful lot like Tales. Tales and Star Ocean, they're kind of competitors in the same kind of game. They both have about the same battle system for the times. Like in Star Ocean, especially this game, it plays almost exactly like Tales of Fantasia and Tales of Destiny of its time. And then later on, when we went into the more 3D-esque era, and Star Ocean moved into things like Till the End of Time, that was around the exact same time that things like Symphonia started happening for the Tales of series. So these games have always been neck and neck for the same battle system. In my opinion, Tales has always won this. They always edge it out just a little more than Star Ocean does. But I think
Star Ocean in some cases have a better story.
yes, Star Ocean plays the sci-fi angle. It's usually more about like another like people from different planets, and sometimes they'll get stranded or they'll have to visit a more less developed planet, and then things ensue. Where Tales is very often usually a fantasy game. So it could very much depend on where you lean. If you like your sci-fi more than your fantasy, that depends on how you go. Because Tales is very much more fantasy and Star Ocean is very much more sci-fi. This game was really good. It had the real-time battle system. It was up to you to dodge things. It was up to you to block things. It was up to you to make the proper hit with the proper attacks. And if you couldn't do that, fuck you. It's true. If you sucked and all you did was just hit the X button over and over and over again, just trying to hit as fast as you could, you would probably lose. Oh, and if you've never played this game and you plan to play this game, as soon as you can, as soon as it is humanly possible, you need to buy something that cures petrification and have it in your inventory for safekeeping. Because damn it.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
Shane played through Star Ocean.
Fucking loved it.
And he only died like one fucking time.
In the entire game. It's not even bullshit. I didn't even really die.
It was bullshit.
No, listen, dying in an RPG means that your hit points hit 0. Mine never did. Okay?
Yep.
I got my entire team was petrified. Game over.
It comes out of nowhere. There is no warning. You'll be playing half the game, all different kinds of enemies. You'd never even seen petrification. Then all of a sudden you walk off a mountain, take 3 steps, and these little bug things petrify your entire team. Game fucking over. Go back to the last save point. And boy, I hope that wasn't too long ago.
Right, dude, that was so infuriating. I'm telling you, dude, I was not happy.
Dude, it will be, and it doesn't matter how strong you are. It is broke as shit. They almost always succeed in getting that petrification. You better have something to heal with, because damn it, it will take you by surprise. Next. Tekken 3.
This is on my list.
And this was also on mine.
Oh, okay. Yes. Now, this game was one of the fighting games. This is the only Tekken game that I really played a lot. Don't really like Tekken very much. But the third one was awesome, actually. Played it a lot. Anybody that's ever played Tekken knows what Tekken's all about. Just put a lot of hours into this game.
Oh yeah, what is Tekken about? What?
Tekken is about juggling your opponent until you throw the controller. Okay? Now, remember what I told you, Scott, when we were talking about Mortal Kombat? I think there are fighting games out there better than Mortal Kombat. This one is not one of them. Okay? I like Mortal Kombat more than I like Tekken. Tekken, no. Just the third one. I like the third one. You can bash a fucking franchise and like one of their games.
I'm not a big fan of Tekken myself, but I will say that this game helped to put the fighting games, especially 3D-wise, where they are today. Part 3 literally helps to push the entire fighting game franchise of the 3D world where it is at its current point today.
And Mortal Kombat 4 did nothing.
And Mortal Kombat 4 probably took us 5 steps backwards.
Yeah.
And was turning around the corner to go back home.
So, like, when you... I don't know. This is... I don't know what much else to say about it. It's Tekken 3. It is, my opinion, one of the better ones in the series.
If not possibly the best they've ever done. And quite honestly, I could make the argument that Part 3 might be the best Tekken game they ever did.
And I might have to agree with you, actually. I've played the others. I'm not impressed.
Not that some of the other games haven't been better in terms of their design, but in overall fundamental feel of how a Tekken game feels when you walk from Part 1, Part 2, go to Part 3. Part 4... it felt like it was missing something. Part 5 felt like it take a step backwards. Then Part 5 on the PSP felt really good. In fact, it felt like the second best Tekken game I ever played in my entire life. And then Tekken 6 happened, and we fight Anubis, and we break our controller, and then we play Tekken 7. Or we don't, because we remember Anubis, and we don't buy 7.
I never did.
Exactly. Neither did I. Because we remember Anubis.
And he sucks ass.
Ass. Next.
Tomb Raider 2. Yes, I think I put this on my list.
Also the disembodied voice.
Excellent.
Put this on his.
I honestly believe that when you're looking at the PlayStation era of Tomb Raider, I think this is the best one.
Oh, it is.
And it has nothing to do with the fact... It has nothing to do with the fact that you can lock your creepy-looking butler in the freezer.
Dude, that was hysterical, by the way.
And I did it every time.
There was Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 3, Tomb Raider the Last Revelation, Tomb Raider Chronicles, and then there was, I feel like there was one more Tomb Raider. I think I've got literally every single one of them on the shelf downstairs, but...
I don't remember. I think you may have said them all.
I may have. There may have been 5. PlayStation was running crazy with the Tomb Raider. But to be fair, just like I said, Tomb Raider made a discovery. After it was proven that it could be done and done well, Tomb Raider took the next step and gave us a full 3D explorable environment. And half the game was figuring out what to do next. Like, I haven't been up on that ledge. How do I get up there? I will say the game did not age well.
Oh, no, it did not.
She moves like a tank. It can be very awkward to play this game. It doesn't look very nice.
Especially if you play the newer ones.
It's a wonder she ever became any kind of sex icon in her time because she did not look attractive.
Hey, man. Those polygons are fucking hot. It's the best one in the series.
The second game felt like an action movie.
It was good.
Like you leave the tombs and then you like go to like there's levels where you're out in the city and you're boating around and shooting guys but it did help to set that idea also. It was set in the first game and then enforced in the second game that Lara Croft was no joke and she was no victim. That's part of the problem I have with New Lara. Everybody praises New Lara because they're like, oh, well, old Lara was just a bimbo with boobs. That's bullshit. Old Lara was never a victim. Ever. She kicked ass. She was the 1930s Pulp Fiction superhero badass guy. The guy that would get drugged by a truck for like an episode and then climb up the rope or whatever that he was being drugged by and punch the truck guy in the face and throw him out the side of the car and then keep driving himself. That was Lara Croft.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, she was based on the Indiana Jones archetype, which was based on the 1930s Pulp Fiction heroes. That's what it is. That's the reason that the character can be ridiculous and look the way they do, because she also plays to that aspect. All these heroes, all these guys were like roughneck pretty boys that caught your attention. You want to tell me Harrison Ford was not a sex icon in his time?
Oh, he was. He was gorgeous.
Now, Lara Croft, she plays off the same aspect. That's what she is. That's important. It actually plays to the character they were inventing. My biggest problem with new Lara is that she may be a badass.
Mm-hmm.
She may deal out headshots and whatnot, but she's a victim. Every single fucking game, she's a victim. Every game that I've played her in so far, she like cries and she's scared and she's got to breathe heavy, and like there's got to be those parts where you got to sneak and shit because she can't handle the situation. Lara had 2 handguns. You better look the fuck out.
Right.
It was a very different character for the time, and I actually wish that we could have had, I wish we could have both of them. I wish we could have the new Lara for the people that like that game, and I wish we could continue the cliche 1930s badass superhero in Lara Croft. I wish they bring old Lara back. I really do. I miss her. Next. Last game. This is the last game on the list. At least I believe, because we're on X. Xenogears. Xenogears is like, it's like Final Fantasy, but it has a fighting system like Legend of Legaia, and it has an extra added bonus.
Mechs.
But why are they an extra added bonus? Here's why. Not because Gundam, that does play into it a little bit if you like the whole Gundam thing, but here's the real reason it was interesting. The mechs and the Xenogear guys, the characters, their fighting systems are different. It feels like you're playing 2 different RPGs. When you play as the Xenogear guys, not the Xenogears, when you play as the humans,
yep,
it's like martial arts and very much like you're playing Legend of Legaia.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get into the mech, the combat system changes and it feels legitimately different, which makes it interesting, and it kind of makes you look forward to the different areas, whether it be the humans or the mechs, because they have unique playing styles that help to flesh out what's going on and keep you from feeling mundane. Because let's be honest, we've all hit that area in the RPG where we're just hitting X and level grinding and moving through the level because none of these guys here can hurt me. But that's different. When you're doing it in Xenogears, you may be a human for an hour or 2 in a storyline. Then there may come where you get into your mechs and you fight these 2 tanks, and then the ground opens up and you fall into this cave, and now you're going to do an entire dungeon as the mechs, and that feels way different. It is very unique from like where the Dragoons felt different when you turned into a Dragoon, but then the Dragoon only like did a couple of magic spells and then you turn back into a dude. This is not what that is. The different areas felt legitimately unique to the different situations and had play styles to match. And that's hard to pull off in a game like this. We've seen a lot of games that fail when they try to do that. Now, does anybody have an honorable mention that they didn't put on their list before we move on?
Oh, shit. I have Final Fantasy IX.
Okay.
Another Final Fantasy. I know. But the 3 that came out on the PlayStation, I mean, yeah, you got the ones. You had Chronicles and Anthology, which had 4, 5, and 6, but I don't count that.
So our list came out to Ace Combat, Brave Fencer Musashi, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Crash Bandicoot Warped, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, Dragon Ball, here in America, Dragon Ball GT Final Bout, Evil Zone, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Front Mission 3, Gran Turismo, Grandia, Jersey Devil, Soul Reaver, The Legend of Dragoon, Legend of Legaia, Lunar, Marvel vs. Capcom, Metal Gear Solid, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Parasite Eve, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Spyro the Dragon, Star Ocean, The Second Story, Tekken 3, Tomb Raider 2, Xenogears. Whew!
Damn.
And truth be told, we could run more. The PlayStation was in no lack of games.
No.
So, let's cover our last topic for the night, shall we? Then we'll get out of here. Who's that Power Ranger?
It's
no one.
It's Jigglypuff from above.
It's no one. It's literally fucking no one. Here's what's going on. They released DLC on the 25th. 2 brand new characters for your Battle for the Grid. You know who they were? They were fucking no one. Here's what's going on. Evidently, the companies are having an issue. And that issue is costing them. Okay? Let me go find the article real quick so that I don't misquote this. But here's what's going on. There's been a small bit of news regarding Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. The Battle for the Grid fans' Twitter account has apparently gotten some info that news about the DLC and possible other pieces of news are ready to share by Inway. But Hasbro and Nintendo have to approve these before they are actually shared on the system. This has led to a lot of confusion since the Nintendo eShop said for a while now that the Season Pass characters were to be released on the 25th. But even though the game claims purchased and has already shipped these characters out to everyone around the world, nobody got the characters. The Season Pass is also being said to be altered to where these characters might come out later this summer. The final thing is that we have finally heard from the official Battle for the Grid Twitter account that the state of the game about the Twitter account from a state of... Okay. The final thing is that we have heard finally from the official Battle for the Grid Twitter account about the state of the game. Sort of. The tweet says that they're going to have some announcements at some point. I cannot stress how worried I am about this game. I've tried to get back into it many times, and the biggest problem with the game seems to be that nobody seems to be playing it online. And since this game requires that you basically play it online, having a low install base is a very negative thing. And now it begins to worry the people that are connected to this game, the people that want this game to succeed. Even after all this work, updating the game, balancing the game, adding the voice acting, putting in 3 characters for free, giving you that big storyline, which worked really well for the arcade mode, and promising extra arcade mode coming soon, because there's going to be multiple story games. This is all looking very promising. And then all of a sudden we get this DLC delay and a tweet that says we have news about the game coming soon. Did this game... I would hate to think that this game already failed and that they're going to be releasing and not doing a season 2 and just moving on from it. But it's possible. If I went online a couple days ago to test this out after I read the article, which I guess, to be fair, wasn't a couple days ago. It was fucking last night. I went on there and I went to try it out, and they're right. I kept coming across like the same 4 people over and over and over again. And I was like, is nobody else fucking playing the game? And to be fair, maybe they're not. Because I own the game. Don't you, Scott?
Yeah, I have it on Switch, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't tried playing it online. I've just more or less been playing the training mode with the different characters.
See, that's exactly what I'm worried about. Because I'm the same way. I haven't been playing it online either. But the way that these games flourish, the way that they create content and move forward, is they have to have an online base, and it sounds like Power Rangers doesn't have one, and that could shut the game down.
It kind of sucks that the fact that the online for the Switch itself is kind of crap right now. So, especially compared to like the main systems like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
But they're not doing good online with this game either. Evidently, the online community base is very low. And now the characters have been delayed. And talk with Nintendo and this Inway are not going over very quickly. And because of that, we got 2 characters that we didn't even get. I was pissed. I turned this game on, saw that the season pass had released 2 characters, and I said, awesome, only to figure out there was nothing on the game. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm checking the Twitter page right now for Battle for the Grid. And you're right, they're just saying, stay tuned for announcements.
There's nothing. There's nothing. The Twitter isn't even responding anymore. They're basically just saying, we got announcements coming, just wait. That's scary news, man. That's the kind of shit that makes you feel like maybe this game isn't going anywhere. Maybe they're shutting it. I would hate to think they're going to shut it down already and cancel Season 2.
Wait. Someone posted something on their Twitter and they responded, please continue. We have a new community manager and she's working hard to see everyone moving forward.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm getting at, is their community is already in trouble. That's what this looks like, is that their community is already in trouble, and this does not bode well for the game. If they can't get their online community moving, this game will not make any money because it will not have any traffic, and there'll be no reason to produce extra characters. And this game, I'm telling you, this game plays well. They are sitting on a gold mine. Infinite fucking characters can be made for this game. Think of all the enemies. Think of all the good guys, all the bad guys, all the putties that have existed. All those characters are feasible in this Power Ranger game. They could just make characters, fucking 12 characters a year. And I gotta be honest, I think people would buy them. But this game, it's in trouble. And it does not bode well. I just wanted to mention it. It is a problem. I do like this game. But it's looking bad. It's looking like the game could already be in trouble. Hopefully, they announce that they've got this big idea and that things are happening, but it's already bad news that they released 2 characters that we didn't get. But we got them. It even says when you go onto their account, you go onto their thing and you go to the season pass and you look at it and it will tell you that you've already bought those 2 characters. It says you've purchased them. Because I did. They're mine. But they're not mine. They're not on the game. Because whatever's going on, Inway has to talk with Hasbro and Nintendo before they're allowed to actually share the content. And something is slowing down the process. And so they're not sharing anything. They're just charging us for it and we're not getting anything from it.
I'll have to go and check and see if possibly the PlayStation 4 version of the Season Pass says that as well.
From what I understand, nobody got these characters. It's not because I even looked up pictures. I went online, went on Google and said Power Rangers DLC, and nobody has an image of anybody I don't have. The only thing they're showing is the 3 characters we got for free. Which means that on the 25th, when these extra characters were supposed to release, we got nothing. All we got was a certification that we got those characters, but we didn't get those characters. Shitty.
It is.
That's all for tonight. That's another 2.5-hour podcast. The next one, I don't know yet. The next one will either be over Super Nintendo or Genesis. It is still in debate as to where we're going in the next Must Plays, but that's an idea, and we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for everybody that did hang out tonight. It was appreciated, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.